Elena Brooks stood near the edge of the grand ballroom, trying not to draw attention to herself. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Expensive music filled the room. Wealthy guests laughed as waiters moved between them carrying silver trays. Elena adjusted the sleeves of her loose black dress. She always chose clothes that hid her curves. Years of cruel comments had taught her that it was safer to stay unnoticed. She was working at the charity gala as an event coordinator. Her job was to make sure everything ran perfectly. "Table 7 needs more champagne," a server told her. "I'll take care of it," Elena replied with a polite smile. As she walked through the crowd, whispers followed her. She would look better if she lost some weight. Why does she always wear clothes like that? Elena pretended not to hear. She was used to it. Then the atmosphere in the room suddenly changed. People straightened their backs. Conversations became quieter. The feared Damien Moretti had arrived. Damien was one of the most powerful men in the city. Some called him a billionaire businessman. Others whispered darker things behind closed doors. He walked into the ballroom wearing a perfectly tailored black suit. His cold gray eyes scanned the room. Everyone wanted his attention. Everyone except Elena. She quickly looked away and continued working. A few minutes later, disaster struck. One of the servers accidentally slipped near Damien's table. A glass of red wine flew through the air. Elena reacted instantly. She rushed forward to help. Unfortunately, as she reached for the falling tray, she bumped into Damien himself. Wine splashed across the front of his expensive jacket. The room went silent. Every eye turned toward them. Elena's heart nearly stopped. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly. "It was an accident." Damien looked down at his stained jacket. Then he slowly raised his eyes toward her. His expression was cold, deadly. For a moment, nobody breathed. Then a mocking smile appeared on his face. "Accident?" he asked. His voice carried across the ballroom. "Maybe if you spent less time standing near the food tables and more time paying attention, this wouldn't have happened." A few people laughed. Elena froze. Heat rushed in her face. Damien wasn't finished. His gaze moved over her body. "I suppose balance becomes difficult when someone takes up this much space." The laughter grew louder. Some guests covered their mouths. Others openly smiled. Every cruel insecurity Elena had spent years hiding suddenly stood exposed in front of hundreds of people. She wanted the floor to open beneath her. Instead, she forced herself to stand still. Damien turned away as if she no longer existed. To him, the moment was already over. For Elena, it felt like a knife in her chest. She quietly handed her responsibilities to another staff member and left the ballroom. The sound of laughter followed her down the hallway. Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not where anyone could see. She wandered through the massive mansion until she found an old library hidden behind a wooden door. The room was dark and silent. Rows of books covered the walls. Finally alone, Elena sat in a chair and tried to calm herself. Then she heard voices. Her body stiffened. The voices were coming from the other side of the room. One of them belonged to Damien. Instinctively, she stayed quiet. "The documents must never become public," Damien said. His voice was low and serious. "If people discover what happened 15 years ago, everything changes." Another man sounded nervous. "The child survived, Damien." Someone could still talk. A long silence followed. Then Damien spoke again. "If that secret comes out, enemies will use it against me." Elena's eyes widened. She hadn't meant to listen, but now she couldn't move. A floorboard suddenly creaked beneath her foot. The conversation stopped. Completely. A second later, footsteps approached through the darkness. Slow, controlled, dangerous. Elena's heart pounded. The library door quietly closed. Then Damien Moretti stepped into the light. His cold gray eyes locked onto hers. He knew she had heard everything. A faint smile touched his lips, but there was nothing friendly about it. "Well," he said softly, "now we have a problem." Elena's heart pounded so hard she thought Damien could hear it. The library suddenly felt much smaller. Damien stood a few feet away from her. His gray eyes never left her face. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Finally, Elena gathered her courage. I wasn't spying, she said. I came here to be alone. Damien studied her carefully. You still heard things you shouldn't have heard. His voice was calm, but there was danger hidden beneath it. Elena crossed her arms. Then maybe you shouldn't discuss secrets in a room that isn't empty. For the first time, Damien looked surprised. Most people feared him. Most people lowered their heads and apologized. Elena did neither. A faint smile appeared on his lips. You have more courage than I expected. Elena laughed bitterly. Courage. She took a step forward. You humiliated me in front of hundreds of people. The smile disappeared from Damien's face. You made jokes about my body. You laughed at me. The room became silent again. For a moment, Damien seemed uncomfortable. That surprised Elena. Powerful men, like him, were never uncomfortable. You should leave, he said quietly. Elena shook her head. No. Damien raised an eyebrow. No. You don't get to insult me and then order me around. Something changed in his eyes. Not anger. Interest. As if he was seeing her for the first time. After a long silence, he reached into his pocket and handed her a business card. If anyone bothers you because of tonight, call me. Elena stared at the card. I don't want your help. Keep it anyway. Without another word, Damien walked out of the library. Elena remained there for several minutes, confused by everything that had happened. The next few days were difficult. Videos of the gala spread online. People shared clips of Damien's cruel comments. Some laughed. Others mocked Elena's appearance. She tried to ignore them. Then an invitation arrived. A prestigious art exhibition was being held downtown. Many important people would attend. At first, Elena wanted to refuse. But something inside her refused to hide anymore. For the first time in years, she bought a beautiful emerald green dress. The soft fabric hugged her curves instead of hiding them. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The evening of the event arrived. As soon as Elena entered the gallery, heads turned. People whispered. Some didn't even realize she was the same woman from the charity gala. For the first time in a long while, Elena felt confident. Then she saw someone she wished she hadn't. Ryan Carter, her ex-boyfriend, the man who had spent years destroying her self-esteem. Ryan looked shocked. Elena, he asked. His eyes moved over her dress. You look different. Elena forced a polite smile. Good evening, Ryan. Before he could say anything else, the crowd suddenly became restless. The entrance doors opened. Damien Moretti had arrived. The powerful Mafia boss walked into the gallery. His gaze immediately found Elena. Ryan noticed. His expression darkened. To everyone's surprise, Damien walked directly toward her. The entire room watched. When he reached her, he offered his arm. Walk with me. Elena stared at him in disbelief. The whispers around them grew louder. Ryan's jaw tightened. And as Damien escorted Elena through the gallery, Ryan realized something was happening between them. Something he didn't understand. Something dangerous. And that night, Ryan made a decision. He would uncover every secret Damien Moretti was hiding. After the art exhibition, Elena could not stop thinking about Damien Moretti. He was confusing. One moment, he was cruel and cold. The next moment, he treated her with unexpected respect. Over the following weeks, Damien occasionally appeared in her life. Sometimes he would send flowers. Sometimes he would invite her to dinner. To Elena's surprise, he never pressured her. Instead, they talked. During one dinner, Damien finally spoke about the secret she had overheard in the library. It happened 15 years ago, he said quietly. His eyes were fixed on the city lights outside the restaurant window. There was a family caught in the middle of a war between criminal groups. Elena listened carefully. A little girl was going to be killed because of her father's mistakes. His voice became softer. I helped them escape. Elena frowned. Why would that destroy your reputation? Damien gave a bitter smile. Because men like me survive by looking strong. Mercy is often seen as weakness. For the first time, Elena saw sadness behind his cold eyes. She began to understand him differently. Maybe he wasn't the monster everyone believed. Meanwhile, Ryan Carter was becoming obsessed. Seeing Damien near Elena had filled him with jealousy. He couldn't accept that she was moving on without him. Soon, cruel posts about Elena began appearing online. Old photographs were shared. People mocked her appearance. Anonymous accounts spread lies about her. Every day, the attacks became worse. Elena tried to stay strong, but the comments hurt. One night, she sat alone in her apartment, reading the messages. Tears filled her eyes. "Maybe they're right," she whispered. Her phone suddenly rang. It was Damien. "What's wrong?" he asked immediately. Nothing escaped his attention. Elena tried to hide her emotions. "I'm fine." "No, you're not." The concern in his voice surprised her. After a long silence, she finally told him about the online attacks. Damien became very quiet. Too quiet. The next morning, strange things started happening. Ryan's business partners suddenly ended their contracts. Investors pulled out of his projects. Several important deals collapsed without explanation. Ryan was furious. He spent days trying to understand what was happening. But things only became worse. Financial investigators started asking questions about his company. Banks delayed transactions. Clients disappeared. Ryan felt as if someone was slowly destroying his entire world. One evening, Elena visited Damien at his office. She found him standing beside a large window. "Did you do this?" she asked. Damien turned toward her. His expression revealed nothing. "I protect people who matter to me." Elena stared at him. "Ryan's life is falling apart." Damien's voice became cold. "He should have thought about that before he attacked you." A chill ran through her body. For the first time, Elena understood how powerful Damien truly was, and how dangerous he could become when someone hurt a person he cared about. But neither of them knew that Ryan was getting closer to the truth. Late that night, Ryan finally discovered a hidden document connected to the secret from Damien's past. As he stared at the information on his computer screen, a slow smile appeared on his face. For the first time in weeks, he believed he had found a way to destroy Damien Moretti. And this time, he wasn't planning to fail. Ryan Carter sat alone in his office, staring at the documents spread across his desk. A smile slowly appeared on his face. Finally, he had something valuable. The documents proved that 15 years ago, Damien Moretti had secretly helped a family escape from a criminal war. If this information became public, Damien's enemies could use it against him. Ryan believed he finally had the weapon he needed. The next morning, Ryan sent a message to Damien. They met in a private restaurant room. Ryan leaned back in his chair confidently. "I know your secret," he said. Damien remained calm. His face showed no emotion. Ryan placed a folder on the table. "I can destroy your reputation with this." Damien glanced at the documents. Then he looked at Ryan. "Is that a threat?" Ryan smiled. "It's an opportunity. What do you want?" Ryan's smile widened. "Leave Elena. Stay away from her completely. If not, everyone will know the truth." For several seconds, Damien simply stared at him. Then he stood up. "Do whatever you think is best." Ryan frowned. That was not the reaction he expected. Damien walked away without another word. Ryan felt confused. He thought Damien would panic. Instead, Damien seemed almost amused. What Ryan did not know was that Damien had already prepared for this moment. For months, Damien's people had quietly watched Ryan. Every business deal, every financial transfer, every secret meeting, everything had been recorded. Ryan believed he was hunting Damien. In reality, Damien had been building a cage around Ryan. Meanwhile, Elena finally learned the full story. One evening, Damien invited her to his home. They sat together in a quiet garden. The cool night air carried the scent of flowers. Damien told her everything. He explained how he had protected the little girl years ago, how he had hidden her family from dangerous criminals, how he had risked his own life to save innocent people. When he finished speaking, Elena was silent. "You sacrificed everything for strangers," she said softly. Damien looked away. "No one had ever done that for me." Elena reached for his hand. For the first time, Damien did not pull away. At that moment, something changed between them. Their connection became deeper, stronger. But danger was approaching. A few days later, Ryan announced a major press conference. Reporters from across the city were invited. Everyone believed Ryan was preparing to reveal a shocking secret about Damien Moretti. The event quickly became the biggest story in town. On the day of the conference, hundreds of people gathered inside a large hotel ballroom. Television cameras filled the room. Ryan stood proudly behind the stage curtain. He believed victory was finally within reach. Across the room, Elena stood beside Damien. She felt nervous. "Are you worried?" she asked. Damien looked completely relaxed. "No." His calmness surprised her. Then he gave a small smile. "Because this is exactly where I want him." Ryan stepped onto the stage. The crowd became silent. He picked up the microphone and prepared to expose Damien's secret. But before he could speak, the ballroom doors suddenly burst open. Several federal agents entered the room. Their serious expressions made everyone freeze. Ryan's confident smile disappeared instantly. And for the first time, he realized something had gone terribly wrong. The entire ballroom fell silent. Ryan stood frozen on the stage as federal agents walked toward him. "What is this?" he shouted. The lead agent held up several documents. "Ryan Carter, you're under investigation for financial fraud, tax evasion, and illegal business activities." Gasps filled the room. Television cameras immediately turned toward Ryan. His face became pale. "This is a mistake," he yelled. But the agents continued presenting evidence. Bank records, hidden accounts, illegal payments. Everything appeared on the large screens behind the stage. The same reporters Ryan had invited to destroy Damien were now reporting on his own downfall. People in the audience began whispering. Some shook their heads. Others walked away from him. Within minutes, Ryan's reputation was destroyed. Elena watched in disbelief. She had spent years feeling powerless around Ryan. Now she saw him exactly as he was. A frightened man whose lies were finally exposed. Ryan suddenly pointed at Damien. "He planned this." Damien calmly stepped forward. The room instantly became quiet. His powerful presence demanded attention. "I did not create your crimes," Damien said. His voice was calm and steady. "You created them yourself." Ryan had no answer. The agents escorted him away as cameras flashed from every direction. His career, his money, and his reputation disappeared in a single afternoon. When the doors closed behind him, the event was finally over. Or so everyone thought. Damien turned toward the audience. "There is something I need to say." People stopped and listened. Even the reporters remained silent. Damien looked directly at Elena. Months ago, this same room would have terrified her. Now she stood proudly in her emerald dress. No longer hiding, no longer ashamed. Damien walked toward her. The entire ballroom watched. "I owe Elena Brooks an apology." A shocked murmur spread through the crowd. "The first time we met, I judged her unfairly." Damien's voice remained steady. "I mocked her in public." Elena's eyes widened. He had never apologized before. "That was my mistake." Damien continued looking at her. "I believe strength looked a certain way." A small smile appeared on his face. "I was wrong." The room became completely silent. "Elena is one of the strongest people I have ever met." Emotion filled Elena's chest. For years, she had listened to people criticize her appearance. For years, she had hidden herself from the world. Now the most powerful man in the city was publicly defending her. Damien gently took her hand. "She taught me that courage has nothing to do with appearance." The audience began applauding. Some people even stood. Tears filled Elena's eyes. But this time, they were happy tears. The secret that Ryan had tried to use against Damien also became public. People learned how Damien had risked everything to save an innocent family years ago. Instead of damaging his reputation, the truth earned him respect. Many people saw him differently after that. Not as a monster, but as a man capable of loyalty and sacrifice. Later that evening, Damien and Elena stood together on a balcony overlooking the city. The lights below sparkled like stars. "You changed my life," Elena said softly. Damien smiled. "No." He squeezed her hand. "We changed each other's lives." For the first time in years, Elena truly believed in herself. The woman who had once hidden in oversized clothes was gone. A stronger woman had taken her place. As they stood together, neither noticed the dark car parked across the street. Inside, an unknown figure watched them from a distance. A photograph of Damien and Elena rested on the passenger seat. The stranger picked up a phone. "They have no idea I'm here," the voice said quietly. "Begin the next phase." The call ended, and somewhere in the darkness, a new danger was already moving toward them.